Well, I think that's about 11 o'clock. So good morning, everyone. And thank you ever so much for joining us on what we hope will be a really kind of engaging and interesting bite-sized insight into the world of, or the evolving world of luxury. Just as a bit of housekeeping for you, if there's any comments or questions throughout, then please just pop them in the Q&A and we'll either answer them as we go along or perhaps revisit them at the end of the session as a bit of a roundup. We will be recording this morning's session, so and we're going to send that out to you as soon as possible. And please do feel free to share this with any of your team or colleagues that you feel might be interested. So just as a quick sort of overview of what to expect this morning, as anybody will know who's been to our previous webinars, this isn't a sales pitch, but we would be remiss to not give you a quick introduction to who Quantum are and who you've got on the call today and what we do. Then we'll be walking you through the changing world of luxury and what's driving those changes. Then we'll go into a little bit more detail about some of the specifics and showing how some of the brands in the marketplace are really kind of embracing these new and exciting changes that are happening. We'll have a little task for you to do throughout as well. So Katie will tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. And then at the end, we've just allowed a little bit of time for any questions and next steps. So as a short introduction to Quantum, for those of you that might not have worked with us before or maybe haven't been to one of our webinars, we are a brand experience agency and we work with brands, categories and businesses that really need to think and act differently. And that's never been as important as it is today if you want your brands to really stand out in the hearts and minds of your shoppers and consumers. Our focus has always really been to use creativity to drive change. And we talk a lot about, and turn sort of strategy into action, we talk a lot about big ideas in many places. Now, as a team, we love to approach any challenge with a totally sort of channel agnostic approach. We are a multidisciplined agency, so we always think about what are the specific tactics and channels and approach that's most appropriate to drive the change that we want to create. And from us, we'll always guarantee that we provide clarity, so turning really sort of the complex into the elegant simplicity, and we use creativity to really drive a positive change for you. In terms of who's on the call this morning, I'm Jodie, I'm the head of new business for Quantum. We've also got Katie, who's one of our brand strategists, and Camilla, who's one of our account directors, and we'll be walking you through this morning's presentation. Now, this is our manifesto as an organisation, and I think the key sentiment really here is around challenger brands, and we ourselves see ourselves as a challenger brand, and we work with quite a lot of them, and we tend to believe that even market-leading brands need to behave in sort of a new, challenging way in order to stand out amongst the retailers or your customers, and of course, most importantly, your consumers. And in terms of the services and what we do, we work in branding category to create sort of really standout activities and events or toolkits or maybe spaces to help grow brands and categories and get people to sort of see them in a different and new and inspiring light. We deliver phygital experiences, and we very much believe that all of our brands that we work across live and breathe across the digital and physical worlds, and how we activate them needs to be exactly the same. We very much value a global and local approach. So we like to sort of lead with a global approach, but use sort of independent advisors to really uncover the nuances of consumer and shopper behavior in specific markets. And fundamentally, at a shopper and consumer perspective, we design interactions that can fit within sort of purchasing journeys when shoppers need it most. And of course, as you probably expect, we'll guarantee you top-notch creative. So everything that we do is always really carefully crafted, but we very much believe that creative for creative's sake doesn't deliver enough. We need it to change behaviours, and that's the yardstick that we always sort of measure ourselves by. We need to win those hearts and minds, but we also need to live in the real world. And here we have a bit of a selection of some of the brands that we work on and the partners that we help. Now, as a business, we work across a variety of FMCG brands in different sectors, but for us, we do have a really big focus squarely in the world of luxury. So I'm now going to hand over to Katie, who's going to walk you through how and why the world of luxury is evolving.
Thanks, Jodie. Yeah, so I guess the reason why we're all here today, right? So the world of luxury is changing, and we believe that there is a new chapter and what we're calling the next chapter of luxury afoot. Within that, there are a lot of preconceptions, traditional codes, and cues within luxury that are very apparent and top of mind when you think of luxury brands in any or all categories. But the world of luxury is changing due to many different kind of factors that are occurring in the world today. And in order for luxury brands to stay luxury brands or to become a luxury brand, we must be us as these brands must be willing and excited to embrace these emerging cues and codes. And one of the big drivers behind the world of luxury changing is that our luxury consumers are getting younger. It's predicted that by 2025, 50% of all global luxury consumers will be 30 and under, and therefore we're talking to a new audience, an audience that have not necessarily had that disposable income or that aspiration for luxury in the past. But now, as it's becoming more attainable to them, that we need to cater for that audience. And if we think about millennials and Gen Z, what are some of the things that really motivate them? What are their needs, and what are the things that drive them? And therefore, how is this impacting the world of luxury? We've got things like self-expression. Never before have we felt more confident to be who we are. And if we think about what that means from a luxury perspective, it's no longer necessarily all about kind of careful consideration. It's more about embracing who you are. The balance of mind, body and soul. Now, this generation or generations of younger consumers are so in tune with their mind, their body and their soul. It's a new world of being that we as luxury brands can maybe tap into. The third is a relentless search for purpose. So we see everything from Greta to the way that we are kind of more akin to looking for sustainable products, etc. These things are all in the aid of a greater purpose. We as or younger consumers want to feel like they're making correct actions and they're pursuing purpose, and they look for brands in all categories, but they look for brands that are helping them to achieve that purpose. And we'll come on to why luxury is in such an influential space to help them do this. Then we have experience over ownership. Now, this is a trend that we've seen in the market across all categories for very much for over recent times. Ownership is becoming less important, and experience is what really matters. And I don't think that has ever been more apparent than the fact that when Boris said we had an end date to lockdown, everyone got so excited and started thinking about what they were going to do, not necessarily what they were going to buy. Inclusivity for all is again another trend that this generation of consumers are so aligned with. It's all about inclusivity, it's all about everyone welcome, and luxury brands need to accommodate that, and that's a real change from where luxury brands are or positioned or perceived to be today. There's an air of exclusivity to luxury brands that this doesn't necessarily marry with. And finally, environmental activism. So this generation of consumers are so interested and action oriented around the planet and being mindful of the planet and making positive steps to improve the way that we live and engage with our planet. And this is again something that luxury brands need to be aware of, if not build into their luxury strategy as a way to bring new consumers on that journey. So as I've spoken about, there are a lot of preconceptions of luxury categories today. So everything from exclusivity to aesthetics to timeless classics, all these things are what when we close our eyes and think of the world of luxury, that's where most of us go to. But actually it is changing and it's evolving. And the things that you'll see in this presentation are examples of how that is evolving. So we're moving from exclusivity and status to collaboration. And inclusivity. We're moving from aesthetics and being all about what something looks like to meaning and authenticity. We're moving from timeless classics to empowering new identities. We're moving from tangibles and ownership to personalized and digital experiences. The world of luxury has always been about heritage and legacy, but actually now luxury brands today have to be about relevant stories and really building a relationship and human-centric storytelling. Luxury brands are also very well kind of known to be above popular culture. But actually in a world of luxury today, it's about embracing that ever-changing world. And finally, luxury used to always be about self-indulgence, and now it's about purpose and action and what positive steps we can make that will align with the values of our audiences. So in this next section and the kind of the meat of this presentation, we're going to be walking you through how each of these shifts are manifesting, so that you guys can understand and find inspiration in how some luxury brands are doing that today. What we'd love for you guys to do is, whilst we're talking, write down 3 of the brands or 3 of the examples that we give you that really inspire you. And the reason that we're asking you to do this is because we don't want you to come out of this presentation thinking, so what? We want you to be able to use some of the work that we're sharing with you today. And by writing down the 3 brands that really inspire you, we can then pick that up after the session and help you craft what that new luxury strategy looks like, that is specific to your brand and akin to what you've seen today. So without further ado, Camilla's going to run us through the first 2 evolutions of luxury.
Thanks, Katie.
Oh, sorry, Jodie.
I'll do the first couple. So first up, we're just looking at a bit of a fundamental shift, really, from exclusivity to collaboration. And what we really mean here now is it's still very much an essential part to place the individual at the heart of the conversation. But people are being more and more encouraged to embrace the opinions and values of others. So it's not all about the self anymore. It's about being much more open. And this valuing of others' opinions and beliefs is a really dominant trend that we see in our younger luxury consumers. And this the spirit of the collaborative spirit gives them their ability to not only share their own beliefs and values and self-image with the world, but engage with new, deeper levels of value. So we've called this first section Stop, Collaborate and Listen. And we really focus on how some luxury brands have started to combine forces to position themselves in a new era. But what's really important to remember about this is it's not just about putting 2 luxury brands together as a partnership. It's about the sentiment that's driving this collaborative process and being used to really drive a clear and shared purpose. So by acting collaboratively, we unlock a whole new world of creativity. And put simply, it's about using combined power to make a statement or drive forward a spirit of greater value. And clearly it works, as these programs are enabling really new levels of greater self-expression, but also much stronger emotional hooks for our consumers. So just leading into a couple of examples, we see sort of several collaborations happening that are really kind of driving things forward, like the Louis Vuitton and Virgil Abloh exhibition that was held, collaborating with an artist for a luxury brand may not seem necessarily a kind of a progressive move, but what's really important to remember is that when Louis Vuitton hosted the exhibition Coming of Age, it was a deliberate statement intended to really draw attention to the complexities of male youth. Next up, we see a collaboration between the Coal Office and Tom Dixon Cake, a Swedish manufacturer of lightweight motorcycles. And we're seeing the office team utilize the Cake's electric utility motorbike, the OSA, to execute package deliveries from the Coal Office's retail shops, as well as takeaway orders from the restaurant. And we're just finding new ways to help get London moving again. And it's a really sort of powerful social statement in that. And finally, we look at Mr. Porter and the Style Council coming together to create a kind of a pretty unique collection of 110 of the world's best connected men who all want to share their sort of hidden tips and insider knowledge on the best bars, restaurants, and hotel experiences in cities across the world to really kind of share that unique insight. So, as consumers move to new ways to express their individuality, the next shift that we see is the definition of luxury being more about sort of beauty and aesthetics, and more about sort of meaning and authenticity. So new luxury involves greater enrichment and discovery of new things. And today's sort of high-earning consumers are looking for experiences that really help them learn to differentiate themselves and express their own self-identity. And they're becoming more and more considered in their choices. And luxury is really moving from like a connection to a socio-economic group to more of almost a self-actualization process. And the next section, or the next evolution manifestation, is called Learn, Play and Grow. And central to this idea is the notion of learning something new or going on a journey of discovery that actually helps the consumer grow, and linking like a physical product, entity or brand to something that helps you understand the self a little bit more and provide that sort of meaning. And with 75% of more value and services finding more value in services that enable them to find something new, and 68% of consumers expecting brands to be clear about their values, it's clear that this sort of change is already very much in place. So in terms of brands that are really employing this kind of approach to learning forums, we've got three examples here of some really great ways that this is coming to life. So the Vogue Craft Workshops was a really unique approach to offering really deeper immersive experiences into the history, heritage, but also the creativity that drives Vogue. So located in this amazing space, the Hotel de Duc in Paris, they held masterclasses in all aspects of the Vogue experience, from sewing to opening up the secrets behind their craftsmanship and design. Next up, we have the Leica Photography Academy, and this has been set up purely to really nurture the best photographic talent, raising sort of imaging standards across the industry, and really kind of nurturing and building sort of the image makers of tomorrow. And finally, Chanel did a really interesting sort of new concept store called Discover and Play, which was effectively a new beauty concept that was, by appointment service only. People were invited to enter a really interesting sensory room where they were encouraged to smell different scents while blindfolded, but not with just the focus of understanding what they really liked, but also really kind of understanding why and getting to know what it was about those scents that engaged them as an individual. So very much kind of a very personal experience of self-discovery there.
Cool, thanks Jodie. So the next evolution of luxury that we're looking at is how timeless classics are transforming into empowering new identities. So what we mean here is that today's luxury consumers are really searching for brands that support individual expressions of self and look at celebrating differences. So we're calling this Let Me Be Me. And this is all about letting someone be free, allowing them self-expression, and giving consumers the confidence to be themselves and not feel judged. So new luxury is about showing off your fabulous self and not showing off what you own. So we know that 2/3 of luxury consumers state that luxury goods and services are about differentiating themselves from others. So brands really need to tap into this need for differentiation. Then in terms of how this is manifesting with other brands, we've pulled together a few examples. So W Hotels are all about embracing diversity, creativity and openness. they launched the Turn It Up for Change event series, which was produced in partnership with the Human Rights Campaign. Within this, they created monthly music events, which were there to sort of promote awareness around LGBT rights. And by doing this, they were able to really bring people together in a celebration of equality. Next up, we have Gucci, and what they did was launch a gender-neutral fragrance, because after all, why should gender have a fragrance? They wanted to really show us that you can be whoever you want to be and your gender doesn't need to define you. So this is all about the idea of empowering new identities, and it's also showing that it's very feasible to do within the luxury space, and really that luxury brands should be spearheading this as they have such a high influence on consumers. And the final example that we have here is Fenty. So this is a makeup brand that's all about diversity and inclusion of skin. Fenty is often heroed as the brand that made makeup more of a diverse playing field and really enabled people to see a different view of makeup. It's all about letting consumers celebrate the uniqueness of their skin. So the next evolution that we're going to talk about today is all about delving into how heritage and legacy is transforming into the relevance of storytelling. So luxury brands have often used their history to engage audiences. However, today's audiences has been raised to question and are sort of rejecting the status quo in favour of wanting to form their own opinions and finding out about brands for themselves. So we're calling this one a story fit for today. So gone are the days of luxury brands only talking of their past. Today's consumers want to know what's in it for them. We're seeing this play across categories, and luxury brands are really making the shift from heritage and legacy to human-centric storytelling, which is really helping our consumers feel part of a brand's journey. And a few examples of how we see brands taking this forward. So we've got the French fashion house Hermès, who brought a really playful and artistic spirit to its 2019 Silk Scarf campaign. So what they did is refresh their iconic accessory with a series of prints and a not so square short film. We thought this example was particularly interesting as it's a really traditional brand, but they realised that in order to appeal to the new luxury world, they needed to sort of embrace individual self-expression as opposed to just family heritage. Another interesting example here is Tiffany & Co. They launched their Celebrating the World's Greatest Love Story Since 1837 campaign. And this was all about bringing older love stories such as Breakfast at Tiffany's into the modern world with their own reenactments to really engage the consumer. And finally, we have Hennessy, which was directed by Ridley Scott. This is a film that captures the sensorial experience of Hennessy, but also uses really modern, really quite incredible cinematic techniques to immerse the consumer. And Scott really draws on his subversive ability to tell stories, to bring this old luxury brand into the new world.
The next shift in luxury that we have for you today is this move from luxury brands being above popular culture to embracing the ever-changing world. And what we mean by this is that there's always been a perception that luxury brands, no matter kind of where you are in the world or at what time, they have their own kind of atmosphere. They operate within themselves and they don't really engage with the world around them. But actually, in today's society, that doesn't work. We expect luxury brands, because of their influence, to be at the forefront of all of the things that are changing around us, and to be able to kind of work with us as consumers and hold our hands. That's why we call this space the In It Together space, and it's all about luxury brands coming off their pedestals and working directly with consumers in a partnership. And we're seeing it play out, and we're seeing lots of people within the industry talk about how actually luxury needs to change. It is all about cultural codes, and it's all about embracing those cultural codes. Again, because if we think about the influence that luxury brands have and the potential that they have on the world around them, they need to embrace what it is that is going on in the world in order to kind of lead the way. There's a couple of examples here of how we see it playing out. Firstly, Tommy Hilfiger, who has grown a notorious reputation for really kind of rolling their sleeves up and getting in kind of gritty with consumers. So in amongst kind of the pandemic last year, they created a campaign that was all about co-creation. It was all about getting people that were made redundant or furloughed off the sofa and getting them out into the world. It talked about entrepreneurship, and this kind of manifested in a way of these digital co-creations that they embraced with consumers and got consumers involved. The second example we have here is JW Anderson, and they've done something very similar, and it's a great example of how the world of fashion, when blinded by supply chain issues and a pandemic, actually started to rethink about what those collections for the future look like. What are the drivers and motivations of consumers, and how does their next collection influence that? And they created JW Anderson created a one-off capsule collection that they've called Made in Britain, which was all about upcycling leftover garments and material to create a collection that could be made by local producers in London. And then finally, we've got NARS, and they have created this orgasm experience and embraced a often taboo subject of female pleasure. And the way that they did this was create a sensorial 5-room event where people could go in and explore their senses, and it was all in celebration of one of their best-selling products. But they were also addressing a taboo in society as well, and that not only made headlines, but it also opened up that conversation. It was really intriguing for consumers. It felt very relevant, and it was also celebrating one of their products. So there was a tie back there as well. The next evolution of luxury that we have to talk to you about today is move from personal tangibles to personalized experience. So we've spoken previously about how ownership is just not so relevant anymore. It's not about the things that we have, but the moments we have, the experiences we have. And luxury have a real job, but also ability to make these experiences the best ever, because they'll be the most luxurious, they'll be the most personalized, they'll be the most immersive. There's a real ambition within luxury to make experiences the thing that luxury owns. We've called this space Things Just Got Personal. And it's all about how luxury brands can come to the party with new, exciting, personal and digital experiences that really engage their consumers. And it's kind of come from the sentiment that in a world where everything is at your fingertips, what makes luxury stand out? It's why we're seeing personal and digital experiences in luxury grow faster than ever. And actually, the luxury experience market is growing twice as fast as the luxury goods market. And there's a reason for that, because not only do we have that influence, but we have the ability to create these most immersive experiences for consumers. And here are just a couple of examples of how brands are doing that. Everything from Charlotte Tilbury creating virtual try before you buy, so using AR to create the illusion of trying on different outfits in store, to Johnny Walker creating a personal Maltmaster experience for all of their shoppers. This is an experience where you go, you learn from the Maltmaster, they create you a customized gift and bespoke graving, and also the opportunity to purchase some of their rare malts depending on your preferences. And again, it's all about that personal interaction and experience with a Maltmaster. And finally, we have Gucci and their Gucci Live, which is a dedicated service in Florence at the moment that aims to create the personal experience of an in-store shopping. So even though we're all sat at home, how can Gucci bring to life what is normally such a luxurious and special moment when you're shopping in for Gucci products, and translate that for consumers at home so they don't miss out. And Gucci are an example of a brand that really embraced both digital and personalized experiences. They've also created things like shop assistant call centers and things like this to really talk to this new generation of luxury consumers. And then finally, and definitely high on the priority list, as we all know, is this shift in luxury from self-indulgence to purpose and action. And this is all about the fact that in the past, luxury has all been about that me moment. I'm buying something to treat myself and indulge myself. But the idea of self-indulgence nowadays has moved on. And when we buy a luxury brand that has purpose and meaning behind it, and is inspired and inspires action, that's what is more relevant for our younger consumers today. We've called this space blissfully aware. Excuse me. And it comes from the idea that 57% of consumers are more likely to buy from or boycott a brand because of its stance on a social or political issue. And actually, global fashion search engine List reported a 47% increase in searches for vegan leather and organic cotton in 2018. So again, if we think about what it is that luxury brands used to stand for, this idea of self-indulgence, these sorts of trends that we're seeing and search terms that we're seeing show that this shift towards luxury brands embracing purpose and creating meaningful action is really relevant to consumers today. We're seeing it play out in many different ways. Gucci again come up because they've really been able to engage with this audience through what they call Gucci Equilibrium, which is a purpose-driven, eco-friendly initiative that highlights Gucci's involvement in social and environmental initiatives. We've got Hilton that have created the first vegan hotel suite in collaboration with Bombas and Par. This is understated luxury that meets practical sustainability with plant-based key cards, eco-stationery, and 100% renewable and sustainable bamboo flooring. So again, it's really tapping into that lifestyle change of these younger generations. If we think back to how the world of luxury is changing because of these consumers and what their values are in eco and environmental activism, and also that balance of mind, body and soul really play into this space. And then finally, Stella McCartney. So recently launching the World of Sustainability, a platform entirely dedicated to documenting the brand's sustainable practices in their flagship London store. Now, I think it takes shows real commitment when you move sustainability high up on your priority list, that you encapsulate it in your flagship store. It really makes a statement to consumers that you are that you really believe in this, and that's definitely something that Stella McCartney have been able to kind of spread throughout their stores, this ethos of sustainability. So there's the wrap up of the 7 ways to embrace new luxury. We've got obviously stop, collaborate and listen. We've got this idea of learn, play, grow. Let me be me, self-expression. A story fit for today, all about human-centric storytelling. In it together, coming off your pedestal as a luxury brand and joining in the conversation. Things just got personal, the idea of personal and digital experiences over ownership. And then finally, blissfully aware, which is all about purpose and action. And we hope that you have found this really useful, and you can see how the shifts in luxury are either influencing your brand or luxury brands around you today. We would really love it if firstly, if anyone has got any questions, then we can come to that next. But also, if you have been writing down those top 3 examples that really inspired you throughout this presentation, please send them on to us. We would love to be able to help you shape that luxury strategy and think about what things you can do to address some of these shifts in the world of new luxury. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. If there's any questions, we can take them. Otherwise, we will follow up with you afterwards.